A stranger knocked at midnight. The Millionaire'S insane secret changed her life forever. The clock struck midnight, echoing through the darkened streets like a warning bell. Ella's heart raced as she peered through the peephole of her tiny apartment, barely breathing. There he stood, a tall figure, his face shadowed, with a glimmering gold watch that caught the moonlight. Who was this mysterious stranger? And why did he dare to disturb her at this witching hour? The air inside felt thick and suffocating as she hesitated. Before her stood a man wrapped in an aura of intrigue. He had the kind of presence that made her stomach flutter. A millionaire, no doubt, his tailored suit screamed wealth, but it was his eyes piercing, electric, filled with secrets that drew her in. He knocked again, holding a folder close to his chest. Ella's skin prickled like static, the hairs on her arms stood up. What could this perfect stranger want with her? Her mind raced with possibilities. Maybe he was a collector of sorts, searching for rare antiques. Perhaps he'd mistaken her apartment for someone else's. But deep down, she sensed that this was no ordinary visit. What was in that mysterious folder? A contract? A key to a hidden treasure? A desperate plea for help? And then a sudden chill ran through her. The whispers of the past, those tales of the millionaire scandal, flooded her thoughts. The town had been buzzing with rumors, stories of lost fortunes and dark secrets that could turn lives upside down. What if this man held the key to a fortune or a curse? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Then, he raised his hand, as if sensing her hesitation, and spoke in a low, urgent voice. Ella, I know what happened 2 years ago. I can change everything. Her heart pounded in her chest like a wild drum. Did he know her secrets? What did he mean? And just like that, a decision loomed, heavy and unyielding, over her life. Should she open the door to danger, or slam it shut, choosing safety over the unknown? As the shadows danced around them, she felt like fate was leaning in, waiting for her answer. A knot twisted in Ella's stomach. The weight of his words lingered in the chilly air, suffocating her with curiosity and fear. A million questions raced through her mind. What did he know? What had happened 2 years ago that could change everything? Every instinct screamed at her to retreat. What was going on outside was clear. It was dark, it was dangerous. But this man, this stranger, represented something more, something that made her pulse quicken with a mix of fear and excitement. She could hear her pulse pounding in her ears, drowning out her thoughts. Who are you? She managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. His gaze intensified, locking onto hers. My name is Nathan. I had to find you, Ella, it's urgent. In that moment, she felt a spark of recognition. She had read about a Nathan in the local news. He was not just any millionaire, he was the one who had lost everything in a scandal that had rocked their small town. His family's name was no longer associated with wealth, but with disgrace. And here he was, standing at her door, enveloped in mystery, clutching that folder like a lifeline. If you know my past, she said, her voice trembling, then you also know I want nothing to do with it. I understand, but you need to hear me out. He shifted his weight, desperation creeping into his stance. Please just let me in. I promise I will explain everything. Ella's heart fluttered. A battle raged within her. Her instincts told her to close the door, to protect herself from whatever storm Nathan might bring. Yet something in his eyes, an urgency, a plea, pulled her towards him like gravity. With a shaky breath, she opened the door, just a crack. What do you want? I need your help, he said, his voice compelling, almost hypnotic. There are secrets that could ruin lives if they come to light, and you are the only person who can help me stop it. Her fingers still gripped the door as if it were a lifeline. What did he mean by secrets? What had she gotten herself into now? There are things connected to what happened 2 years ago, things the public doesn't know. I can't do this alone, Ella. You're my only hope. Ella felt a surge of anxiety. This was about more than just her own hidden past. The idea of being entangled in someone else's chaos made her skin prickle. But the flicker of curiosity ignited a spark. Could she really be involved in something that could change both their lives? What do you need me to do? She asked, her voice steadier now, even as apprehension coursed through her, and Nathan stepped inside, the shadows swallowing him momentarily before he emerged fully into the light. I need you to trust me and to help me uncover the truth. We don't have much time. The world outside seemed to fade away as he opened the folder, revealing documents full of names, dates, and coded messages. Ella's eyes widened with shock. This was more than a simple request, this was a web of deceit that laid beneath the surface of the life she thought she had left behind. Ella, he murmured, his tone urgent. Are you ready to dive into this with me? As Ella stared at the folder, her heart raced, torn between the safety of her past and the terrifying depths of the unknown future. She was standing at the edge of a precipice, ready to take a leap into darkness, but should she trust him? And what horrors awaited them if she did? The clock ticked loudly in her ears, marking time she might not have, and then, out of the unnerving silence, she heard the distinct sound of a door slamming in the distance. Before she could react, a chilling thought gripped her. Who else was watching? Ella's breath caught in her throat as the noise of the slamming door echoed through the dimly lit space. Instinctively, she turned toward the sound, her mind racing. Was someone outside? Had Nathan been followed? The room felt suddenly too small, the walls closing in on her. What was that? She whispered, her voice cracking. Nathan's expression morphed into one of urgency mingled with fear. We need to move, he said, his tone leaving no room for doubt. He snapped the folder shut, the papers inside rustling like the whispers of secrets long hidden. Now! Her legs shook as she pulled away from the door frame. Why? What is happening? He stepped closer, his eyes gleaming with intensity. They're onto us. We can't let them find us here. Dumping the contents of the folder onto the dining table, he pointed to several names that stood out prominently. Each one seemed familiar yet terrifying. These people, they had a role in the events from 2 years ago. They want to silence anyone who knows the truth. I don't understand, Ella stammered, her pulse quickening. You're saying there are people who would hurt us to keep this quiet? They're ruthless, Nathan replied, glancing anxiously at the window. The shadows beyond the glass were still, but that only deepened her dread. But if we can gather evidence, we can expose them. The weight of his words settled heavily on her shoulders. She felt entangled in a web that was spinning tighter every second. Expose them? Why me? Why now? Because, Nathan replied, lowering his voice as if the walls had ears, you were there. You saw and heard things that could change everything. Your perspective might be the key to unraveling this whole conspiracy. Ella felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She had spent years trying to bury that past, the memories of that night, the chaos, the fear. To think now that she held the key to something far more dangerous sent shivers down her spine. What if I refuse? She dared to ask, her heart racing. Nathan's eyes softened, desperation flickering behind them. Then many lives could be at stake, including yours. If they sense you're hesitating, they'll come after you, and I can't let that happen. Silence engulfed them, broken only by the soft tick of the clock, counting down their moments. The world outside remained dark, chaotic, and unfamiliar, while everything inside felt charged with danger. A sharp knock on the door shattered the stillness, making Ella jump. This time, it was more insistent, filled with an urgency that made her heart pound wildly. Who is it? Nathan hissed, eyes wide with panic. I don't know. Ella replied, the fear in her voice creeping back. Was anyone on their side? Had they already lost their chance to escape? The knocking persisted, and Ella exchanged a frantic glance with Nathan. He motioned her to stay quiet before he approached the door, not bothering to mask his tense posture. As he reached for the knob, a memory flickered in Ella's mind, a memory she had tried hard to forget. A shadow creeping inside, laughter that turned into screams. Before Nathan could open the door, Ella summoned a surge of adrenaline. Wait! But the decision had already been made. He yanked the door open, the hinges creaking with reluctance, revealing a figure cloaked in darkness. "Who are you?" Nathan demanded, his voice steady but laced with tension. A voice emerged, smooth and velvety yet laced with a threatening undertone. "I believe you've been looking for me." Ella's heart raced in her chest as the weight of that statement pressed down like a stone. This was only the beginning, and the storm was coming straight for them. What did this stranger want? And how were they tied to everything Nathan had just revealed? As shadows deepened around them, Ella felt her grip on sanity slipping. She was teetering on the edge of a chasm. But the truth might just pull her and Nathan into upheaval that neither one could foresee. The figure in the doorway was a silhouette against the dim light of the hallway, and Ella instinctively stepped back, seeking the safety of Nathan's side. The stranger moved slightly, just enough for the faint glow to catch the sharp angles of a face that was both haunting and familiar. "I know who you are," Ella gasped. Recognition sent icy fingers creeping up her spine. "You're Jules Forrest," the stranger finished, a smirk playing on his lips. "And I believe we have unfinished business." Nathan's muscles tensed, standing protectively in front of Ella. He glared at the intruder. "You shouldn't be here, Jules. Not after what happened." Jules stepped inside, his confidence radiating like heat from a fire. "Oh, but Nathan, that's exactly where you're wrong. I am here, and you both have something I want." Ella's heart hammered against her chest, each beat echoing her growing anxiety. "We don't have anything for you. Just leave." The smirk widened, revealing a flash of white teeth. "That's not true. You have the past, Ella. And right now, it's worth more than you imagine." He glanced deliberately at Nathan, a challenge in his gaze. "What do you know about the past?" Nathan replied with fierce resolve. "This isn't a game, Jules. You better back off." Jules chuckled, an eerie sound that danced in the stillness of the room. "Oh, but it is a game. And it looks like I have the upper hand. People are scrambling to find the truth. But the truth can be dangerous." Ella felt the air thicken around her, almost suffocating. She wanted to bolt out of the room, to escape, but her feet were glued to the ground. "What do you want from us?" she managed, her voice trembling. "Simple," he said, stepping closer, his presence engulfing the space. "I want you to agree to work with me. Your testimony, combined with the right allies, could bring down the monsters who want to silence you both." Nathan scoffed, shaking his head. "And why would we trust you? You only care about yourself, Jules." "Trust is a fragile luxury," Jules replied smoothly, "but imagine what would happen if you don't cooperate. Picture this, they find you first. They don't intend to ask questions." Ella swallowed hard, a bead of sweat forming at her brow. The shadows danced around them, morphing into her own fears, the memories that clawed to the surface. "What are you saying?" she asked, dread pooling in her stomach. "I'm saying you need me," Jules continued, his voice growing silky and persuasive. "And I can keep you both safe for a price." Nathan moved slightly, blocking Ella from Jules' unnerving gaze. "What kind of price?" "The past," Jules stated, his eyes glinting with predatory interest. "I want to know what you saw that night. Together, we can awaken the echoes of truth." "What if I refuse?" Ella challenged, her heart racing, desperation lacing her voice. "Then the truth will shatter you," Jules warned chillingly. "And it will bring the very monsters you fear right to your doorstep. You think slipping into oblivion is hard? You haven't seen anything yet." Ella's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, each one more haunting than the last. The promise of protection danced tantalizingly close, but trusting Jules felt like staring into an abyss. Nathan looked to Ella, his expression torn between anger and despair. "We can't let him manipulate us, Ella. He's not on our side. You're right, Jules agreed, eyebrows raised, but once they find you, it won't matter. The clock is ticking. There was a deafening silence, each of them weighing their next move. Ella felt their choices ripple through her bones, raw and heavy. In that moment, the stakes morphed into something terrifyingly real. Would they risk everything to uncover the truth, even if it meant partnering with their foe? Or were they damned to become mere casualties in a game that already had too many players? The door creaked again, an ominous wind howling just outside like a warning. What will you choose? Jules pressed, his eyes narrowing dangerously. Ella inhaled sharply, the weight of every choice settling heavily on her. But she couldn't finish her thought. Because the sound of footsteps, heavy and deliberate, approached from the hallway outside. Their time had run out. Who was coming for them now? And would they be ready to face whatever truth emerged from the shadows? Ella's heart raced as the footsteps grew louder, echoing throughout the small room like a countdown to disaster. She exchanged a frantic glance with Nathan, his eyes mirroring the same fear that gripped her. There was no time left to think, no time to weigh their options anymore. It was act or be acted upon. Jules, get down, Nathan hissed, pushing Ella behind him as he stepped toward the door. Ella's breath caught in her throat. It was a protective instinct, but the looming presence of Jules made her skin crawl. What was he really planning? Wait! Ella's shout caught Nathan just as he reached for the doorknob. We have to hear who it is first. Who cares? Jules sneered, his smirk fading. You want to play games? Fine, let's be real. You don't want to open that door. Nathan's fingers hovered over the knob, hesitating. The pounding footsteps now stopped, replaced by an unsettling silence that draped over them like a heavy fog. Whoever it is could be dangerous, Ella continued, forcing her voice to steady. But if we show ourselves, maybe we can stall. Before she could finish, the door burst open, swinging wide to reveal a tall figure silhouetted against the flickering light in the hallway. When the figure stepped into the room, Ella's breath hitched. Raven, she stammered, recognizing her best friend. The relief was palpable, sweeping through her like a wave. But it was short-lived as she spotted the panicked expression on Raven's face. What are you doing here? Nathan asked sharply, moving to Ella's side again. They're coming for you, I saw them. Raven blurted, her voice trembling. I've never seen that car before. It was parked right outside, and they were looking for you, Ella. Instantly, Ella felt a chill race down her spine. This was all too real, and it was edging ever closer to being out of control. Who? I think it's them, Raven gasped, glancing back over her shoulder. They know you know too much. Jules stepped forward, intrigued. And who exactly are they? Raven shook her head, her face pale. I don't know, but the way they looked at me. It's like they think I could lead them to you too. Why did you even come? Nathan snapped, frustration blending with fear. Because I couldn't just leave you. Raven shot back, her eyes darting nervously. I was just at the diner when I saw the car pull in. I didn't want you to be alone with him. She gestured toward Jules, her voice low. I don't trust him. The tension hung thick in the air, every second felt heavy with dread. Jules recoiled at Raven's accusation but then leaned closer, clearly amused by the fear enveloping them. What would you do without me, Ella? You clearly can't navigate this maze alone. Jules glanced at Nathan, who stood rigid, ready to defend them both. It was a standoff, and Ella could feel the stakes rising higher than ever. They must act fast. As that realization sunk in, a sudden crash echoed from down the hall, shattering the fragile moment. Whatever danger lurked outside had made its arrival known. What was that? Nathan demanded, instincts kicking in. Jules's smirk faded, replaced by a serious look that hinted at the dark knowledge he held. Time's up, he said, his voice low and threatening. Now we either work together, or we run blind. Ella felt her pulse quicken once more as she observed the urgency on Nathan's face. There was no choosing the safe path anymore. They had to uncover the secret lurking in the shadows. "We need to get out of here," she declared, her voice steadying despite her pounding heart. "Now!" But as they moved towards the hallway, the distant sound of footsteps surged closer again. This time, they were not coming alone. The door behind them suddenly banged shut as the lights flickered ominously. Ella's heart sank. Who had entered this deadly game? And what unleashed chaos awaited them just outside their small safe haven? The air thickened with fear as Ella, Nathan, and Raven stood frozen in place. The sound of more footsteps echoed in rapid succession, growing louder, faster. Panic twisted Ella's gut like a vice. They had to move. "Jules, we don't have time for your games," Nathan snapped, his hands balled into fists at his sides. Ella could feel the tension radiating off him, his body tense and alert. "Games? This is survival," Jules shot back, a wild glint in his eyes. "But sure, let's just run toward the danger and see how well that works out." Before Ella could figure out who to trust, a loud crash from the hallway splintered the air, making her jump. The lights flickered once more, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. "We can't stay here!" Raven cried out, her voice breaking. She dashed toward the window, pulling back the curtain to peer outside. "We need a plan." Ella's heart raced again. "Do you see anything?" "Nothing. Just the streetlight flickering." But Raven's eyes widened in alarm. "No, wait! There's a black SUV. It's parked right across the road. They must have followed me. What if we go out the back?" Nathan suggested, looking at Ella, urgency in his gaze. "No." Jules interrupted, stepping between them and the doorway. "The back leads to the alley. We'll be trapped. We need to go up." Before anyone could question him, he grabbed the nearest chair and flung it at the window with a wild swing. Glass shattered, raining down. Ella winced as shards erupted into the dim room, leaving jagged edges that glinted in the flickering light. "Are you insane?" Nathan shouted, fists raised as he stepped forward. "Do you want to get us killed?" But Jules had already ducked through the broken glass and was pulling himself onto the ledge. "Either we go up, or we get caught. Just trust me," he yelled, his voice cutting through the confusion. Ella hesitated, glancing at Raven. "What do we do?" "Trust your instincts," Raven replied, steeling herself. "Either way, we can't stay here." Adrenaline surged, and against her better judgment, Ella climbed through the jagged opening, pain flaring briefly as a shard sliced her palm. She bit her lip, fighting back a cry. Nathan followed closely behind, his eyes scanning the street for any sign of danger. "Come on," Jules urged, gripping the ledge of the roof. "Get moving." They scrambled up, reaching the rooftop just as the faint sound of voices drifted up from below. Ella pressed her back against the cool tiles, breathless. She couldn't make out what they were saying, but the fear in Nathan's eyes told her enough. "We're okay for now," Nathan whispered, brushing a hand across Ella's cheek, trying to assess her wound. Finding comfort in his presence, Ella nodded, though her heart still raced. "What now?" "If they know we're gone they won't look up," Jules cut in, crouching at the edge of the roof, searching the street below. "They'll assume we've run, not gone up." "It's not safe," Raven breathed, glancing over the edge nervously. "What if they decide to check the rooftops?" "Then we need to move quickly," Nathan said decisively, voice low. "We can't afford to be caught. We need a place to hide." Suddenly, the voices grew louder, fragments of conversation piercing through the mounting tension. "They can't have gone far," one voice boomed, sending chills down Ella's spine. "Check the rooftops." Ella felt the world tilt beneath her. "We need to go now," she urged, her voice small but urgent. But before they could make a move, a loud crack echoed through the air, a gunshot. The sound reverberated in her chest, freezing her blood. They had to get out of sight, and fast. But where to go when they were being hunted so ruthlessly? "Follow me," Jules commanded, leading them toward the rear of the building. "I know a way down." Just as they started moving, a new sound burst forth, the unmistakable roar of an approaching engine. It was coming closer, and it filled Ella with an impending sense of doom. "Whoever it is, they're not here to help," Raven panted. Together, adrenaline coursing through their veins, they scrambled for cover, unaware that their worst fears were closing in. And just as they thought they could find safety, the truth of Jules' hidden agenda loomed before them, a revelation that could change everything. What had they just stepped into? And why did the stakes keep rising as the engine turned its spotlight their way? The moment Ella, Nathan, and Raven ducked behind the roof's parapet, the sound of the engine exploded into a violent roar. The SUV's headlights cut through the darkness like a knife, illuminating the alley below and sending panic jolting through Ella's veins. She could feel her heart thumping loudly in her ears, drowning out the murmur of voices. "Get down!" Nathan hissed, pulling Ella further into the shadows. She felt the rough surface of the roofing tiles biting into her skin, but the pain paled in comparison to the fear of being seen. Jules peered over the edge, his expression tense. "They're out here. If we make any noise, it'll be over." Ella's mind raced with thoughts and questions. Who were these people? Why were they chasing them? And most crucially, what did Jules know that he hadn't told them? The flickering streetlight somehow felt like a ticking clock, counting down the time they had before they were discovered. Raven's breath was heavy, labored. What if they know we're up here? She clutched at Jules' arm, her grip shaking. "We'll be trapped." "We can't think like that." Jules snapped, the glinty madness still evident in his eyes. "We need to create a distraction. Something to draw them away." A sudden thought sparkled in Ella's desperate mind. What if we throw something? Something loud? Like what? Nathan whispered, scanning the rooftop for anything that could help, but before Ella could suggest anything, a voice below shouted, "Search the area." They can't have gotten far. A chill ran down Ella's spine. They were on borrowed time. The men were closing in, and soon they would be trapped like rats. "Here!" Jules suddenly grabbed a half-empty paint can that had been left by previous workers. "This might work." "Get ready." "What are you going to do?" Raven shot him a concerned look. "Just trust me," Jules yelled, and before anyone could question him, he hefted the can over the edge and sent it crashing down onto a metal dumpster below. The bang echoed like thunder, broken glass clattering like angry raindrops against the concrete. Ella watched in horror as the beam of a flashlight swung in their direction, the men's voices rising in alarm. "What was that?" one demanded, sprinting toward the sound. "Go!" Jules yelled, motioning with urgency. They all crawled along the roof, hearts racing. Just as Ella reached the edge, she heard the gruff voice of a man below, yelling for backup. Her stomach churned with fear. There was no going back now. They had to find safety and fast. As they crept closer to the back of the building, Ella could see a fire escape ladder hanging down like the lifeline they desperately needed. But shadows moved near its silhouettes, searching. Panic squeezed her throat. What if there are more? She gasped, grabbing Nathan's arm. His jaw was set tight, and she could almost see the gears turning in his mind. "Then we improvise," Nathan replied firmly. "On 3. 1, 2, 3. They leapt toward the ladder, heartbeats quickening like a drumroll leading up to a cataclysmic moment. Just as they reached out for the cold metal rungs, a loud voice rang out again, this time furious. "Get after them! They're on the roof!" Reality hit Ella like a punch to the gut. They were being hunted, and the hunters were relentless. With a surge of adrenaline, she scrambled up the fire escape, her hands shaking, fear igniting within her. "Come on!" Nathan shouted, pulling Raven along. Jules was already climbing swiftly, nerves electrified, but as they reached the top, a shout froze them all in place. A man stood at the end of the alley, silhouetted by the moonlight, gun drawn, gaze locked on them. "You can't escape!" he yelled. Every hint of safety shattered. Ella's breath came shallow as she searched for an escape route, mind racing. "Take cover!" Jules shouted, embedding himself behind a ventilation unit. But where could they go now? The hunter had found their trail, and Ella realized with dread that it wasn't just about survival anymore. Someone had orchestrated this even worse. They led them straight into a trap. What was Jules hiding? And what had this all led to in the name of survival? Jules' eyes darted around frantically, each shadow stretching like a sinister claw. Ella's heart thundered in her chest, a relentless reminder of the danger closing in on them. The man in the alley stood like an immovable wall, gun raised, shadows cloaking his intentions. "Raven, stay down!" Jules hissed as he gradually shifted behind a large ventilation unit. Nathan, with a fierce determination shining in his eyes, pulled Ella behind him, as if to shield her from the oncoming chaos. Time seemed to freeze as Ella strained to hear the hurried whispers from below, the footsteps creeping closer, sharp and deliberate. Her breath hitched in her throat, the uncertainty wrapping around her like a vice. What had Jules gotten them into? And who were these men willing to hunt them down like prey? "Think. We need a plan," Nathan urged, his voice fierce but barely above a whisper. His eyes locked onto hers, desperate for her to understand. Out of the corner of her eye, Ella noticed a glint on the pavement, a broken shard of glass. Instinct kicked in. "We could use that. If we distract him." Not enough time, Jules cut in, his tone sharp, revealing a hint of panic. "If we make any noise, we've lost the element of surprise." Ella felt the weight of his words sink in, but the adrenaline rushing through her veins ignited that fight within. "We can't just stay here and wait. We have to do something." "Then we have to create a diversion," Nathan said, taking a deep breath. "Jules, if you sneak around to the left, you may be able to draw him out. Ella and I will create noise over here." "I don't know," Jules hesitated. "Do you have a better idea?" Nathan snapped, urgency spilling from him. Silence hung thick between them. The man below paced, eyes scanning the rooftop like a predator. "Okay, I'll do it." Jules finally nodded, his face set. "On 3. You two, make it loud." Ella's heart raced as suspense crackled in the air. 1, 2, 3. Jules shot out from behind the unit, sprinting across the rooftop. The man in the alley whipped around, shock flashing across his face. "Hey! You!" he shouted, raising the gun. The moment hung heavy. Ella's pulse drummed like a war cry. "Now!" Nathan yelled, grabbing the paint can Jules had discarded earlier and throwing it with all his strength towards the edge. It smashed against the concrete, the sound erupting like fireworks. Gunshots rang out. The bullet shattered the air just inches from where Jules had been a moment before. Ella instinctively flinched but forced herself to look. "Run! Now!" Nathan shouted, and they scrambled toward the fire escape. But as they descended the ladder, a sudden surge of voices erupted from below, and more silhouettes emerged from the darkness. Ella's stomach plummeted as she realized this was no simple search. They were being hunted by a whole pack. "Ella! Grab my hand!" Nathan shouted, reaching down as they reached the street moments before the first men could follow. With a fierce grip, she took his hand, panic flooding her senses. But then the shadows shifted, and a chilling laugh echoed, freezing them mid-stride. "You think you can escape this easily?" The figure from earlier stepped forward, gun still drawn, eyes gleaming with malice. "Stay behind me," Nathan urged, but the instinct to flee pulsed stronger. And then, like a punch of sunlight piercing through clouds, Jules stepped sideways, his silhouette backlit in an eerie glow. "I need you to trust me. It's bigger than any of you think," he screamed, sounding almost desperate now. "Bigger than what?" Ella's voice cracked, confusion slicing through the chaos surrounding her. But before Jules could answer, another gunshot rang out, sending shards of concrete flying. Everything slowed, the world around them disappeared as they faced the very real danger. What had they stumbled into? And what truths lay just out of reach, waiting to be uncovered? The shot echoed like a thunderclap, rattling through Ella's bones. Time seemed to stretch, each second dragging out in agonizing clarity. Jules' face morphed from determination to sheer horror as he crumpled to the ground, clutching his arm. Blood gushed between his fingers, pooling into dark crimson droplets against the unforgiving concrete. "Jules!" Ella screamed, instinctively darting toward him. Nathan's grip tightened around her wrist, yanking her back. "Don't!" "We can't," he began, his voice fierce, yet tremulous, but Ella couldn't process anything but Jules' pain, the sight of him on the ground igniting a primal fury inside her. "We have to help him." Her heart pounded, each thud a drum announcing her rage. "No. We need to run." Nathan's urgency pulsed through her, but it fell on deaf ears. This wasn't just about survival, it felt personal now. A cacophony of footsteps thundered closer, and a dull roar of distant sirens painted the night in escalating terror. The man with the gun, his expression twisted with malice, aimed again, the barrel aimed directly at Jules' head. "Get out of my way!" Nathan bellowed as he nudged Ella aside. He shielded her with his body, and in that split second, she saw the man's finger tighten on the trigger. It was a chilling reminder of how fragile life was in this moment, how quickly it could slip from their grasp. "Keep moving," Nathan forced out, dragging her along as they sprinted blindly down the street. Heart racing, Ella couldn't look back. She felt the weight of Jules' blood on her hands, the responsibility pressing on her chest like a mountain. They stumbled into an alley, shadows wrapping around them like a shroud. Breathless and desperate, they stumbled upon a chain-link fence. Without a second thought, Nathan scaled it, pulling Ella after him just as they heard the thundering of footsteps nearby. "Over now," he urged, and Ella leaped over the top, landing hard on the other side. The sharp sting of the gravel was lost in the adrenaline surging through her. They scrambled to the safety of a darkened street, searching for a place to catch their breath. Ella leaned against a cold wall, heart racing, mind whirling. We can't leave Jules. He's hurt." Nathan's eyes flashed a mix of grief and resolve. "And if we go back, we'll be dead too. We need to figure out what's happening and come back for him with a plan." Ella swallowed hard, her throat dry as dust. "A plan?" she echoed weakly. Heartache clawed at her. Would it even matter if they returned? They didn't know what they were dealing with, but Nathan's determination ignited something within her too. "We need to find a phone. Call for help. We can't just give up." As they turned the corner, the wind shifted, carrying an ominous chill. A flickering street lamp revealed a figure standing at the far end of the alley, watching them. "Look!" Ella whispered, panic spiraling. They froze, locking eyes with the stranger. "Are you the ones they're looking for?" The voice was raspy, both threatening and oddly familiar. "Who are you?" Nathan demanded, stepping in front of Ella, preparing to defend. "I can help you. But we must move fast. They're tracking you." The stranger took a step forward, shadows cloaking his face but not quite hiding the urgency in his voice. Ella's heart raced anew, pounding against her ribs. Could they trust this person? What game was being played here? Why should we believe you? She shot back. Because the stranger paused, glancing over his shoulder as sirens wailed closer. "If you want to save your friend and uncover the truth, there's no time left. They won't stop until they find you." Nathan glanced at Ella, weighing a choice that carried their fate. The world around them swirled with chaos and unanswered questions. "Are you in or out?" The stranger pressed. Ella's breath caught in her throat. Trust a stranger? Or keep running blind? Time was running out. With every heartbeat counting down, she could only hope they weren't making the biggest mistake of their lives. The looming darkness felt denser than before, an entity wrapping around Ella and Nathan as they stood with their new ally. The stranger's face finally emerged from the shadows, revealing a look that was both grave and determined. "I'm Foster," he introduced himself, urgency painting his features. "And I know what you're up against." Ella felt herself shake as she tried to process everything that had just happened. Jules lay bleeding somewhere, and now they were supposed to trust this man? The sirens wailed closer, fading in and out like the thumping in her chest. "What do you know?" Nathan demanded. You better be quick about it. Foster stepped closer, lowering his voice. There's a conspiracy against you both, something that goes deeper than you can imagine. They're covering their tracks. What do you mean? Ella interrupted, desperation creeping into her voice. They want to silence anyone who knows the truth, and that includes your friend, Foster cut in, sharp and abrupt. Jules knew more than he let on. He wasn't just playing a game, he was trying to stop them. Fear shot through Ella like a bolt of lightning. We have to help him. She was breathless, heart racing at the thought of what might happen to Jules if they didn't return soon. We will, Foster assured her. But only if you both are ready to face whatever comes next. This is bigger than you two. His tone turned serious. The people hunting you, they won't stop until they get what they want. They'll come for you, it's only a matter of time. Nathan's expression hardened, determination flaring in his eyes. Then we need to move. We can't let them catch us again. Follow me, Foster instructed, glancing back towards the approaching sirens. The way he moved was fluid, purposeful, leading them down a series of darkening alleyways. In the chaos, trust was an uneasy companion for Ella, but the thought of leaving Jules behind gave her no choice. Where are we going? Nathan queried, urgency sharpening his voice as they ducked down another narrow passage. We need to find help, Foster said, keeping his voice low. If they know you're out here, there's south only one place you can go. Ella felt a flicker of hope at the mention of help but was quickly drowned in doubt. The realities of what they had faced so far weighed heavily on her soul. After what felt like ages navigating the darkness, Foster stopped near a graffiti-splattered wall and nodded toward a barely visible door. This leads to someone who can protect you, who understands how to fight back. Who? Nathan asked, a mix of skepticism and hope in his tone. A hacker. Someone who can expose the truth to the world. They have connections and resources, Foster explained while glancing around cautiously. Ella felt a rush of fear and doubt. But can we trust them? This is our best shot. If we don't act now, we may lose everything, Foster replied with quiet conviction. With a heavy heart, Ella pushed through the door. What awaited them on the other side? Were they walking into another trap? Trust felt slippery like sand between her fingers. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with technology. The low hum of machines filled the air, the glow of various screens illuminated the dark. They were met by a wiry figure hunched over a keyboard, their hair unkempt and eyes wide. You guys look like hell, the hacker observed, then immediately focused intensely on Ella. You're Ella, right? I've seen your face in the news. Look, we need help. Nathan urged, panic lacing his words. Our friend is hurt, and there are people hunting us. We need to expose them. The hacker's gaze sharpened, flicking nervously toward Foster. I thought you said this would be safe. It is, Foster replied firmly. They're coming for them. We need to act fast. Fine. The hacker's fingers danced over the keyboard as a series of documents began to flood the screens. But I need to know what you saw. I can't help if I don't know the full story. Ella's eyes widened, memories crashing over her like violent waves. She had to relive that night, to bear the weight of those lost moments. 2 years ago, there was an accident, she began, her voice shaky. There was a party, and there were too many people and too much chaos. I saw things I shouldn't have. As she began to speak, each word tumbled forth like a stone breaking free from the weight of a dam, raw and dangerous. Nathan stayed close by her side, the warmth of his presence steadying her. She recounted the details, the tiny flashes of horror that had haunted her, the faces and shadows that lingered in her mind, those familiar yet twisted connections to the people on Foster's list. And that's when Ella faltered, fear creeping in. That's when everything unraveled. They wanted to erase all evidence of what happened. The hacker nodded furiously, typing as fast as their fingers could work. I can work with this, but I'll need more proof. If we can get hold of real evidence, we can bring them down. And Jules? Ella blurted out, desperation thick in her voice. What if it's too late for him? We'll help him, Nathan promised, squeezing her hand. We're not leaving anyone behind. Ella bit her lip, the thought of Jules pierced her heart. Despite the chaos around her, she felt a pulse of resoluteness rise. They were about to embark on a dangerous mission, one that wouldn't just pull them deeper into the storm, but also expose the truth they had been seeking all along. Fine, Ella said, taking a deep breath. We'll gather whatever evidence we can. Then Foster stopped them, eyes wide with urgency. There's no going back. This will escalate quickly. Are you both ready for this? Ready or not, we're in, Nathan declared, standing firm with that. They all nodded, sealing their resolve together in that moment. The shadows that had once enveloped them now felt like flames lighting up the path ahead, but as they prepared to leave, Ella couldn't shake the chilling thought that every step they took closer to the truth also drew them further into danger. Filled with a mix of hope and dread, they stepped back into the night, united by peril and the burning will to uncover the secrets that awaited them in the darkness. There was no turning back, and they knew they were about to awaken powerful forces that had been asleep for far too long. This was not just about survival anymore, it was about justice. And they were ready to fight for it. Now, before this story ends, I need a favor from you. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. If you've enjoyed this incredible journey, smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. And I want to hear from you. Let's light up that comment section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything, and we couldn't do this without you.